Hey, what it do? Welcome to episode 106 of Startup Dropout. It's your boy Tyler Carlson. In case you haven't heard an episode before, I share some lessons that I've learned in growing businesses, being a part of acquisitions, and just lessons I've learned along the way, but I am still figuring this out, and this is just me sharing my view on things, and I hope to learn from you as well. On today's episode, on Season 1, Episode 6, called Bro, I was so blacked out. So I don't know if the culture is like this at your school or within your group of friends, but where I went to school, it was cool to be dumb. Kids would come into class and be like, oh shit, there was an exam. I was so blacked out last night, bro, I forgot. That's cool? Hell no. Let me tell you about my theory of the hourglass. All right, I just made that name up, so if that name already exists or there's another theory, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to take the time to Google it. But my theory is that there's a social hourglass that is flipped at the end of high school and at the end of college. So if you think about an hourglass, when you flip it over, all the sand from one side has all compiled up from sitting there, is now on the top, and it slowly drips to the bottom. So my theory is that at the end of high school and at the end of college, it's flipped. So what the hell am I talking about? You're probably thinking. Well, everybody who is the cool crowd, that's the cool crowd with the hot girls, the parties, the coolest kids in high school, get thrust to the bottom of the hourglass at the end of high school. They become the losers, the kids who are on pills, not able to find jobs. They might be living at home. They got nowhere to go in life. And they end up in the same town doing the same shit for, well, ever. Why is this the case? Well, I think that they get so caught up in being cool that they actually lose themselves and who they are. But shit, that's too deep. But anyways, now that the hourglass is starting to slow down and gets to form, the kids in college start to become the cool kids as well, right? Now there's another time that the hourglass is now congregating, if you will. And at school, when you go to college, you can form new identities, which is so cool. Maybe you were the class clown your whole life. Well, now you can just be the bookworm. Whoever you want to be, you can be. So you become whatever that identity you want to be, and hopefully it's not the cool crowd, which you'll hear in a second, but the culture that I was in at Florida State, it was the culture of, bro, I was so blacked out, or, bro, I can get you on the happy hour list at Potts, dude. But I hate to break it to you, the guy who can get you on the list, bro, is probably going to be doing that forever. And when you think about it, you got like the football players. They're treated like walking gods, even though most of them have to cheat their way through college and are dumb as rocks. Now, there's plenty of smart athletes out there, so I'm not trying to make a judgment that all athletes are dumb, but those poor souls are being taken advantage of by the university, getting free labor and this piece of paper of an education where they actually didn't learn anything, and how are they going to apply that? They're going to end up working at a rent-a-car, or if they don't go pro, they're screwed. Even if they do go pro, they're probably going to lose their money in 10 years because they haven't received any financial wisdom or education. So I know I'm just ranting here and I want to add value. So the point here is that being dumb is not fucking cool. But guess what? It takes you nowhere. So at the end of college, the hourglass flips, and all those cool cats are now the losers that are chain-smoking cigarettes at the bar that has them being the oldest person there by decades as they linger around. But you know what is cool? Learning. Growing as a person. Connecting with people. Failing. Learning from it. Asking questions. Building things. Challenging norms. Researching things that interest you. Becoming a person that creates and puts yourself out there. One example of the cool culture at FSU was professors would have to practically beg their students to come to their office hours. And I would go to all of them. I'm telling you, it was the best thing to do, but I'll explain in a second. I also had friends at Florida State, I had friends at University of Florida that emphasized in order to meet your professor there, you had to find them walking their dog or walking in between classes because it was so competitive. Everybody was going to their office hours. Versus at FSU, in my experience, nobody was going to the office hours and the professors had to beg you. So let that sink in for a second. Your school culture may be affecting you more than you realize. The cool culture that you have caught up in may be affecting you and becoming who you not really are. So what are the benefits of these set office hours? Number 1, good grades. Number 2, learning about how to apply the applications of your schoolwork. Number 3, to meet cool fucking people. Number 4, figuring out what you don't want to do. So we're going to go by these one by one. Number 1, get better grades. Did you know that at the end of the year or the end of the semester, the professor just bubbles in your grade? Literally, scranch-on bubbles. Well, maybe it's not that way anymore, and they got their iPad where they tap it, because I was in class from 2009 to around 2015. So maybe it's on the iPad now, like I said, but regardless, they pick your grade. Now, if you have an English or a non-Scantron type test in your class or testing methodology in your class, and this is especially important to you, and pay attention, your class and your tests are subjective. So what do I mean by that? When you write out your answer to the test, it's subjective to how the professor grades it. So what I would like you to do, what I challenge you to do, is you go to that professor's office hours, the next time after a test, and you go through every single question you got wrong, and you have that professor explain to you why they marked it wrong. You know what's going to happen? The next time you take that test, they're going to sit there, and they're not going to mark that answer wrong, because they don't want to deal with your shit. Or shoot, you might even learn something when they explain it to you. So it never hurts to ask questions about that. And another example is I had this math professor that told me if students asked him, he had this kind of separate exam he put together outside of the final exam that he would give you at the end of the year, at the end of the semester. And if you pass this test, he would give you a passing grade in the class, even if you failed every test before it. And his rationale was, if you could pass this exam, this separate kind of special final exam, then you understand what I've meant to teach you, therefore you deserve to pass the class. So it never hurts to ask, and it's going to lead to good grades. Now, this applies as well with Scantrons. I was in, as you know, a pre-med, more science-based major, and this applied as well, where teachers were just on your side, right, when you went to their office hours. The second is the real-world application. Now, if your professor has been in academia forever, then you're probably fucked in this category. But a lot of professors have experiences outside of school, and you can figure out how you can apply your major and if you're on the right track. And a lot of them are quite interesting. There's a lot of things that they go into, etc. So the third thing is meeting cool people, which is, like I said, you can meet some pretty interesting professors, some really interesting people that have done interesting things in their lives that hopefully they're applying to academia. Now, as I said, you might find those that are just stuck in the theories of academia and have no real-world application, and I have found that to be a less valuable relationship. But still, you get to meet cool people. Number 4, you get to figure out what the fuck you don't want to do. So remember in the last episode, a couple episodes ago, we talked about how no is more important than yes. Well, guess what? You get to see how this professor has applied what you're learning, and you can nope the hell out of there. So keep that in mind. So some questions to ask yourself are what you're doing aligning with your school culture but not who you actually are? Or are you just following the dumb path because it's cool? So some professors out there really have, one other thing I'll say is they have such interesting niches. Like, you want to find somebody that has a certain beetle or some shit that they study. That's super cool to me, and I respect that in academia. And my challenge to you is go visit a professor. I promise it'll be worth it. And as discussed in other episodes, saying no is more important than saying yes. So remember, it isn't cool to be a shithead. Don't fall victim to the hourglass. And remember, office hours are more important than class.